Well, thank you all for being here today, for joining us today. We have a great crowd here to celebrate the life of not just a terrific tournament director, not just a poker Hall of Famer, but a great man in Jack McClelland. And throughout our time here today, we will hear from people who knew Jack well and perhaps some of the best people to remember him. And let's start with a fellow poker Hall of Famer and the Poker Go president, Memoriam.
Thank you. Many of you watching me probably too young to know what Jack did for us. He was definitely one of the trailblazers in the tournament directing world. He had great ability of coming into a table when adversity arose and make a decision, calm things down in a way that was uniquely Jack's style of doing things. And that went on for 40 years that I knew him. He loved what he was doing. And if he hadn't encountered some health issues, I'm sure he'll still be here and directing tournaments, because that really was his passion. Last I saw him, I'll take that back. I saw him 10 years ago at Cedars-Sinai when he had a heart transplant surgery, and having dozens of tubes and wires out of him. We were speaking. I said, okay, so what is the plan? He said, what do you mean, what is the plan? The plan is for me to come back and direct pokers. So this is one guy didn't give up. He loved it, and he is going to be sorely missed. I know that I kind of stepped away from playing tournaments, and but his contributions, I'm sure, is going to be well remembered by the speakers that are coming here. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Maury. Well, Jack certainly had a great relationship with the World Poker Tour, as you all know. To touch on that and more, here's WPT President Adam Pliska. Thank you.
I think the world needs more Jack right now. It's a time when there's a lot of frustration and a lot of anger, and I don't know, there's a lot of cynicism in the world. But I think Jack, to all of us, represented a sense of community that transcends all of those frustrations and reminded us that we were in a remarkable industry. I met Jack. Unlike a number of you, I look around and we're legends of in the poker industry for so long, but Jack and many of you here, 23 years ago, I was just the lawyer who'd come in. I hadn't had any background in poker at all. But I think Jack and Mike Sexton, better than anyone, were so good at just welcoming people from the first day and making them feel valued. And it was a tough moment for me, because I was my first event coming to the Bellagio was the week of my own father's funeral. And I was certainly the lowest person on the totem pole. And to have somebody welcome you and make you feel like you're a part of something in a time that's very difficult, it always stuck with me. And so, you always hear us talking about the WPT family and where that came from. But a lot of that is in the impressions of a number of you here today, but really represented in Jack. Jack was truly what a family was. He was like your uncle who had a naughty joke that you shouldn't be saying, but he's going to share it with you anyway. He's a person who was cared about you. I remember introducing him, saying that we're bringing in Angelica Hale, who was running the tour, and I let him know who she was, and I set him up, and then when she comes in, I introduce him, and he immediately goes in and say, oh, they couldn't find anybody else, and immediately I knew they were going to love each other and get along, because that's just how Jack was. You know, Jack is a great man. Jack did so much to set the tone of how we act and how we are, but there's something even more, is that Jack was a good man. And we need more good people. We need to remember that among the frustrations, our differences, and everything else, we have this amazing, amazing industry that we work in, and it's worth treating each other with kindness and compassion and enthusiasm, and that wonderful smile that you would get every time you see him. It'll always inspire me, and I know it'll inspire everybody here, because Jack McClelland was the poker family. So for Jack and for all of you here who loved him and cared for him, I know we're going to continue to support his legacy, and I'm just immensely grateful for the impact that he's made on me, the WPT, and everybody in the poker industry. Thank you, Jack.
Thanks, Adam. Thank you very much, Adam. Next up, how about a tournament director that's hopefully on his way to the Poker Hall of Fame? The executive tour director of the World Poker Tour, Matt Savage.
Yeah, Jack, it's nice to see all of you here today. Ava, thank you for, having such a wonderful father, honestly. Amazing. He was old school. A lot of you in the room remember old school tournaments, and he was the only person I ever knew that back when you had the power of the pen. I don't know if you guys know what that means, but when you walked into the Bellagio, I remember walking up to see Jack, he'd pull out that book of comps and say, "What do you guys want?" And I was jealous, I was envious. I never had that power of the pen. So it always was one of the things that reminded me of Jack. He had what it took to remember old school poker, and he loved it. He loved the way poker and poker tournaments used to be. It's changed a lot these days. And I know that he played a lot of tournaments later on in life. We would talk about the rules and about the way poker is. And I think that he kind of missed the old school like I did. And I would love for his legacy to be to remember how great poker tournaments were and how good they are today, but how good they could become. Jack was a strong supporter of the TDA, the Tournament Directors Association. In 2003 and 2005, he invited us to work at Bellagio, and honestly, at that time, it was kind of a struggle getting people together. So I really want his legacy to be, as a supporter of what we do in the rules of poker, because it was very strong to him. And you're going to hear the story about, him saying, when people would throw their cards off the table, they would say, it was an accident. I did it on accident. But he would say, well, you accidentally get a 20-minute penalty. And that's the way he was. He made it strong, but it was funny, right? And I think that a lot of the way I learned to be a tournament director, go to the table, make a strong decision, and yet, not piss people off, I think was a lot of what Jack did. And I think that that's important, what he did. The first World Poker Tour event, as many of you know, was at Bellagio. And, without the support of him and Doug Dalton, I think that, it'd been tough for the WPT to survive. We were out there looking for partnerships, and the fact that we could always say, well, Bellagio's in, and they would say, okay, well, if Bellagio's in, we should probably be a part of this. I think that that was a really big part of it, and Jack was a super strong supporter of the World Poker Tour. I'm very thankful for him today, and it, like I said, it may not be the same as it was. I'll leave you with one more story about Jack. And Jack and Steve Lipscomb, they loved each other. They were great. It was the early days. But Jack had this thing about wearing a tuxedo at the final table. And he always wanted to wear that tuxedo. And Steve would argue with him, nope, we're not doing it. That's that other tournament. They wear tuxedos. We don't wear tuxedos. Well, one day, Jack showed up to a final table in a tuxedo. And Steve says, what are you doing? You're not going to do this. And then, Steve finally relented and said, you can wear that tuxedo. So Jack, thank you for all that you've done. You're such a great influence. You paved the way for poker tournament directors, especially those traveling tournament directors like myself. And your legacy will never be lost, and we need to remember that legacy. Rest in peace, Jack.
I think so many different things prove Jack's real passion for the game. I mean, he was playing the $400, the $600 at the Wynn earlier this year. I had the honor of playing with him. He absolutely crushed me, by the way. That's a different story. I think I'm 0 for 12 in hands against Jack McClelland. But no guy that you'd rather lose to. And another factor that proves his passion for the game, I think, is the relationship that he's built with players and with certain players who represent our game very well. And these two had a special relationship. So here is the 17-time World Series of Poker bracelet winner, Phil Helmy. How you doing, brother? Good. How are you?
Well, Jack loved two women in his life, and he was all in with both of them. As many of you know, Alma McClelland is also in the Poker Hall of Fame. So kind of cool that they both made it. And then, of course, he loved Ava. And when he lost Elizabeth, Ava was there. They were bonding. They spent a lot of time together. Ava, I know how special a relationship you guys had. I think it's really cool. And then when it comes to community, I think Adam touched on this, who's also going to the Poker Hall of Fame. And something about community, right? Like he just like whenever you saw him, you wanted to go up to him and talk to him. He always had a smile on his face. You know, whenever I called him, it was a joke, it was fun, it was light. Just an incredible communicator, I think. And I think we're gonna roll a video that shows that he was in the casino industry for 30 years, was never reprimanded, was never written up, never had any issues. And Maury, I'm gonna compliment you. Maury started dealing with the big egos of poker, including mine, back in, when he started the NBC Heads Up Championships, and he had to tell people, you're in the tournament, you're out of the tournament, you can play, you can't play. And Maury somehow kept everybody's respect. Jack the same way, dealing with tournaments all over the world. Every player respected him. Matt Savage touched on it. Yeah, you accidentally throw the cards off the table, you accidentally get a penalty. So he sent you on your penalty with charm and grace. So you're like, all right, whatever, I can't argue with that. But yeah, the last couple of years, Jack and I had been communicating a lot by text and by call, and I'd always look forward to calling him. I'd always look forward to talking to him, because just such a great person. And then, no one's touched on this, but he could have run a $1 billion company. That's what I realized. Watching him take over the chess thing, checks, he didn't work. But I mean, that was the point where I'm like, oh my God, this guy could be a true global CEO. He had so many skills, so much power. So Jack, on a personal level, I'm gonna say something quickly for Peter Costa. Peter is crushed. Peter was spending an hour a day with Jack at the end. This, Ava, 2 hours a day. And Peter really wanted to be here. He had something scheduled with his daughter to go to Cyprus. But, Peter is still crying and still in tears over this. So everybody in this room loved Jack. I believe that if we opened the doors, that there'd be, probably 500 or 1,000 people in here to say goodbye. And, and I just want to say that, Jack loved you, miss you, rest in peace.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Phil. And Phil's spoken about her and their relationship a lot. I think it's great to close with some thoughts from family. So here is Jack's daughter, Ava.
Thank you, everyone, for coming out today. I want to thank everyone for their friendships with Jack, for being there, laughing with him, supporting him through all the years. I just want to say, after my mom passed, Jack and I, we definitely grew our bond over the last 2 years, taking trips together over Taylor Swift. He became a Swiftie. We actually had booked a trip to Poland, to Warsaw, to go see her, and unfortunately we couldn't make it. But he was determined to listen to all her songs, to learn the words, and that really bonded us. We had a great time. Towards the end, it was all about his friendships, being with my mom, making sure that I was okay, and all of his friends were okay. He always made sure that everyone was happy and everyone was okay. First thing that he ever, like when he would wake up in the morning, first thing he would do is grab his phone, make sure where all the tournaments are, what's happening. Even in the hospital, where's my phone? Where's my phone? He had to check scores. He had to check what tournament was coming up. Grabbing the phone, calling Phil, calling Maury, calling Guy. And I want to thank everyone that did come out to visit us, sat with us, and supported us. Phone calls, video calls, all of it. Because it didn't go unnoticed. It did support him, supported me. I am blessed that I have been able to call him my dad, my father for the last 25 years. My mom manifested him, and she did the most amazing job. I told him that whoever I meet in the future, they're gonna have big shoes to fill. He was teaching me how to play poker towards the end. Believe it or not, I still don't know how to play poker after all these years. We were playing some online tournaments, and he was so excited because I cashed 4th in my second tournament online. And I did tell him at the end, I said, go be with Mom. I'm gonna be okay. And one day, you will hear Jack McClelland's daughter, Ava, is at the final table. Thank you again for everyone coming out and supporting and loving on him the way I did, and coming out. Thank you.
That was beautiful, Ava. Thank you. And we'll all be there for your final table for sure. No question about that. So again, thank you all for being here. It's great to hear from every one of you. And let's end this really in the perfect way with Jack McClelland telling us to shuffle up and deal.
One of the proudest things I was in my career was I had 37 years of tournaments, and I never had a gaming infraction, never had a gaming complaint, never had an employee complaint. Floor man's decision is final, and you better be right.
Okay, let's shuffle up a deal.